Happy first Friday of December and welcome to this week's episode of Sports Corner. I'm Cole Young and it's been a few weeks, so I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. We'll have a lot to catch up on, so I'll get right into it. We had so much football to enjoy over the past 2 weeks, and week 13 of the NFL season did not disappoint. Starting on Thanksgiving, the Lions just barely avoided a loss to the Bears when the Bears oddly decided not to use their final timeout while they were down 3 and in field goal range. Regardless, the Lions improved to 11-1 and remained the top team in the league, and the Bears subsequently fired head coach Matt Eberflus following the loss. Many people thought the midday matchup of the Cowboys and Giants would be a perfect time for that Thanksgiving nap, but this game actually turned out to be one of the best of the week. Dallas linebacker DeMarvion Overshown tipped a pass, intercepted it himself, and scored to put the Cowboys ahead in the second quarter, and the Cowboys were able to hold on to their lead from there, earning a 27-20 win over the New York Giants. Then, in the later slate, the Miami Dolphins had to travel to snowy Green Bay to take on the Packers. The weather and the Packers' offense were just too much for the Dolphins to handle, as quarterback Jordan Love led the Packers to a 30-17 win at home. We then got the rare Black Friday game, where the Kansas City Chiefs yet again pulled off a last-second miraculous victory, this time over the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders were down 2 points with 15 seconds remaining and had possession while on the KC 32-yard line. That would be a roughly 49-yard field goal, well within kicker Daniel Carlson's range. That's when disaster struck. On third down, Raiders quarterback Aiden O'Connell botched the snap, the Chiefs recovered, and the game was over. With that win, the Chiefs not only clinched their playoff spot, but officially eliminated the Raiders from playoff contention. On Sunday, several games came down to the final seconds. The Chargers picked off Kirk Cousins to beat the Falcons 17-13. Russell Wilson threw for over 400 yards as the Steelers outlasted the Bengals 44-38. Sam Darnold threw a late touchdown against the Cardinals to give the Vikings their 5th consecutive win. The Colts scored a 2-point conversion with 12 seconds left to beat the Patriots. The Bucs forced a fumble in overtime to secure their win over the Panthers. And the Broncos outlasted the Browns in a wild, high-scoring contest, earning the Monday Night Football 41-32 win against Cleveland. Aside from the dramatic finishes, there were 2 major blowouts. The Commanders ended their losing streak by scoring 28 unanswered points to start the game against the Titans and ended up pulling out a whopping 42-19 win. Then, to end the day, the Buffalo Bills hosted the San Francisco 49ers in a game that snowed nonstop. The Bills handedly defeated the 49ers 35-10, securing their 5th straight AFC East division title and clinching a playoff spot. With all of that said, here's a look at the current playoff picture. Like I said, the Chiefs and Bills are the first 2 teams to clinch playoff spots in the AFC. There are 5 AFC spots remaining, and the Steelers, Texans, Chargers, Ravens, and Broncos are currently in those spots. Statistically speaking, it seems likely this will be the AFC playoff picture, considering the closest bubble team is the Colts, and they're sitting at just 27% odds to make the playoffs. In the NFC, the Lions have all but clinched a spot. The Eagles, Seahawks, Falcons, Vikings, Packers, and Commanders are all hanging on to their current spots. The bubble teams are a lot closer in this conference, though, like the Buccaneers, who have 66% shot to make the postseason, but aren't currently in the playoff picture. There are still 5 weeks remaining in the regular season, so don't miss out on any of the action, because the playoffs are still very much subject to change. It's been a while since I made my picks, but last time I did, I yet again went 4-0. I'm on a hot streak, sitting at 32-8 for the season. This week, I'll go with the 49ers over the Bears, the Eagles to pick up a win at home against Carolina, the Vikings to make it 6 in a row with a win over the Falcons, and to make things interesting, the Chargers to upset the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been getting lucky several weeks in a row, and it's only a matter of time before that luck runs out. Moving on to college football, we're just 2 weeks away from the start of the playoffs. Here's a look at how the playoff committee is currently ranking these teams. In the past few weeks that I've been reporting on the playoffs, this bracket has changed drastically, and something tells me it will still drastically change this weekend. I say that because this week is conference championship week. Almost every single one of the games this weekend will have major playoff implications, so I figured I'd give you the schedule for the big ones. Starting off the weekend tonight at 5 p.m. on Fox, the number 10 Boise State Broncos will host number 20 UNLV for the Mountain West Championship. Boise State needs to win this game to definitively earn a playoff spot. Then, Saturday at 9 a.m. on ABC, the number 16 Iowa State Cyclones and the number 12 Arizona State Sun Devils will travel to Arlington, Texas to square off at AT&T Stadium for the Big 12 Championship. At 1 p.m. on ABC, the world will shift its focus to Atlanta, Georgia, where the number 5 Georgia Bulldogs are set for a rematch with the number 2 Texas Longhorns for the SEC title. At 5 p.m., we'll have two games splitting our attention. First, in what might be the best game of the weekend, number 1 Oregon and number 3 Penn State will head to Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis for the Big Ten Championship on CBS. The final game of the weekend will be the ACC Championship between number 8 SMU and number 18 Clemson, also at 5 p.m. on ABC in Charlotte, North Carolina. I say it every week, but you truly don't want to miss any of these games this weekend, as all of them will have major implications on the future. Like I said, Boise State needs to pick up a win this weekend, and to do that, they will obviously rely heavily on running back and Heisman Trophy candidate Ashton Jeanty. I talked about Jeanty earlier this season and all the absolutely absurd stats he's put up, and it's only gotten crazier since then. So I figured I'd share a few absolutely mind-blowing stats about Jeanty. He finished the regular season with 2,288 rushing yards, which is more than 105 different FBS teams, not just players, teams. Add on 28 touchdowns on top of that. Jeanty finished his season leading the nation in carries, yards per carry, rushing touchdowns, carries of 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70-plus yards, broken tackles, which became a new single-season record, yards after contact, also a new record, and total points. He also rushed for 125-plus yards in 12 straight games, the first time a running back has achieved that since 1996. He set the Boise State single-season record for all-purpose yards and tied the record for the rushing touchdowns. He also set the Mountain West single-season rushing record with 2,288, a total that is the 5th most in FBS history. I can rattle off all the different awards Ashton Jeanty has won this season, but I don't have the time. Simply put, we got to witness one of the greatest collegiate seasons in all of history this year, and Ashton Jeanty is more than deserving of the Heisman Trophy. Am I slightly biased due to being a Boise State alumni? Yes. However, numbers don't lie. Enough football, moving over to the ice. Earlier this week, a major announcement was made in the NHL. In lieu of having an all-star game this season, the NHL is staging the Four Nations Face-Off, which will run February 12th to 20th. This is a round-robin tournament that will feature 4 national teams, Canada, Finland, Sweden, and the US, with NHL players from those nations filling rosters. Each team will play 3 games, with the top 2 teams playing in a winner-take-all final. Teams will receive 3 points for a win in regulation, 2 points for an overtime or shootout win, 1 point for an overtime or shootout loss, and 0 points for a loss in regulation. The Four Nations Face-Off will be held in North America, splitting games between Bell Center in Montreal and TD Garden in Boston. The last time the NHL put on a tournament like this was in 2016, and the event was the World Cup of Hockey. The tournament was started in 1996 and staged again in 2004 before it returned in 2016. So far, the players' reactions have been recorded as being, quote, overwhelmingly positive. Like I said, the first games will start on February 12th, which, scarily, is not as far away as it sounds. To close the show, the NBA Cup knockout rounds begin on Tuesday. Here's a look at how the bracket will shape up. The knockout rounds will be on the 10th and 14th, with the championship game on the 17th. Unfortunately, neither SoCal team, the Lakers nor the Clippers, made it to the knockout rounds, but the games will still be fun to watch nonetheless. That was a lot to cover, and there will be even more next week. As always, thank you for joining me on this week's episode of Sports Corner, and be sure to come right back next week for more news, updates, and highlights. I'm Cole Young. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next time.